A good writer chooses words carefully when writing a sentence. They try to express their idea or thought in the most effective way possible. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can write concise sentences so that you can reduce wordiness in your writing. Many students think that they need to write longer sentences to show that they are a good writer. Actually, a good writer tries to find the most effective way, and that may actually be by writing more concisely. You don't want to use unnecessary words or go on and on trying to state your ideas. You want to use specific vocabulary. You will avoid unnecessary adverbs or phrases, and you will want to avoid redundant words. Let's look at how we can do this more in detail. One thing that we can do is when we write our sentence, we want to begin the sentence with who or what is doing something. We want to put this at the beginning of the sentence. Here's an example. The decision to add a new product was made by the management. If we change this sentence to, the management decided to add a new product, we've now put who is doing something at the beginning of the sentence. It is the management that is doing something. The first sentence is written in what we call the passive voice, while the second sentence is written in the active voice. Now, both of these are good ways to write a sentence. However, to write more concisely, you may want to choose the active voice, putting the who or what at the beginning of the sentence. The first sentence has 12 words, but the second sentence only has 8. Writing more concisely with fewer words gets your idea across more clearly to the reader. Another way is to use specific verbs. This means you will use less phrasal verbs. Here's an example. The committee was interested in hearing their opinions. Here we have a phrasal verb, was interested in. We can write this more concisely by changing the phrasal verb to a single word verb, like this. The committee welcomed, or requested, their opinions. The first sentence has 8 words. The second has 5 words. One more thing that you will want to reduce is using to be verbs. For example, Toyota is a car producer. Here we're using the to be verb is. We could change this to Toyota produces cars. You can see that we have reduced our sentences from 5 words to 3 words, but the meaning is still exactly the same. The company was letting them know that they were waiting for some more information in order to finish the project. Now, this is an example of a sentence which could be written more clearly or concisely, like this. The company needed more information to finish the project. This is basically what the first very long sentence is trying to say. The first sentence has 20 words compared to 9 in the shorter, more concise sentence. So when trying to write more concise sentences, there are a few things that you can look for. Look for overused phrases that you may have used in your writing. Look for extra words that are not necessary in your sentence. Look for unnecessary explanations and look for redundancy. Let's look at each of these different things more carefully. What do we mean by overused phrases? Well, here are a few examples. Regardless of the fact that. We could write the word although, which means the same thing. Due to the fact that could be written with the one word because. Concerning the matter of could be written regarding. These types of phrases are fine to use, but if you need to write more concisely, you may want to choose a single word that can convey the same information. In spite of the fact that could also be written although. In the event that could be written if. The fact is that could be written actually. Although these longer phrases can be used in writing, if you can find one single word to replace a longer phrase, often this is a good way to help make your writing more concise. Sometimes we have extra words in our sentence that really are not necessary. It is important to remember basic etiquette during interviews. This could be written more concisely this way. Remembering basic etiquette during interviews is important. The manager told the workers that he had the understanding that a total of 10 new employees would be joining their department despite the fact that the company had reduced its hiring campaign. Well, this sentence has 33 words, which is quite long for an English sentence. It would be better to write it this way. The manager said that a total of 10 new employees would be joining their department, although the company had reduced its hiring campaign. There's another time that students can reduce extra words. Often when writing an essay, the introduction paragraph is one place that we can work on writing more concisely. Let's look at an example. While the main reason for the company's success was careful planning, 3 other factors also played an important role. To begin with, all sections of the company contributed to the smooth manufacturing of the products. It must be added that the products were well chosen. Finally, there was great demand at the time. We have 53 words in this part of an introduction paragraph of an essay. Writing the 3 other factors in the first sentence is fine, but we can reduce this writing by taking out some of the extra words, such as to begin with, or it must be added that, or finally. We could write this in this way. While the main reason for the company's success was careful planning, 3 other factors also played an important role. All sections of the company contributed to the smooth manufacturing of the products. The products were well chosen, and there was great demand at the time. Just taking out those extra words actually makes this sentence much clearer and written at a higher level. One more thing that we can do to help write more concisely is to avoid using excess explanations. Some of the most popular cameras are made in Japan, an island nation in the Pacific Ocean. Now, most people already know where Japan is, so the words are really not necessary at the end of that sentence. This is extra explanation that's really not necessary. One more thing that we want to avoid is redundancy. Redundancy is when we use 2 words together that are very similar in meaning. For example, unexpected surprise. Both of these words actually mean the same thing. It was unexpected, which means it was a surprise. We don't need to use both together. Here are a few more examples. Past memories, terrible disaster, free gift. So to help us write more concisely, one of the first things we want to do is to take out unnecessary words. We can also replace pretentious words with more straightforward words. Many students think that they should use very difficult vocabulary to impress their teachers or their instructors. However, this is not always a good idea. All attempts to mollify the disconcerted committee were fruitless. Some students may think by using some of these higher level vocabulary words that they will impress their teacher. However, some of these words do not clearly express the meaning intended, and so can be confusing rather than helpful. All attempts to please the frustrated committee were fruitless. This is much clearer to the reader. Another thing that we can do is to reduce a clause to a phrase. Here's an example. Honda, who was the first Japanese car manufacturer to have a factory in the US, continues to sell well there. We can change this clause to a phrase. As the first Japanese car manufacturer to have a factory in the US, Honda continues to sell well there. We can also reduce a phrase or a clause to one word. For example, the suggestion that was proposed will be honored by the president. We can take the phrase "that was proposed" and move it to the beginning of the sentence and write it this way. The proposed suggestion will be honored by the president. Or we might be able to eliminate a phrase completely. The fact is that writing concise sentences is a necessary skill for a good writer. We can just write, "Writing concise sentences is a necessary skill for a good writer." So to review, to write more concisely, we should write who or what is doing something at the beginning of a sentence. We should use specific verbs when possible, use less to be verbs, and look for overused phrases, unnecessary explanations, extra words, and redundancy. Take out unnecessary words. Replace pretentious words with more straightforward words. Reduce a clause to a phrase. Reduce a phrase or clause to one word, or eliminate a phrase completely. All of these things will help you to be able to write more concisely. Happy writing! And be sure to check out my workbooks that are designed to be used along with these videos.